All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College coming at you with the last PowerPoint lecture from Web Development and Design Foundations with HTML, a book written by Terry Felke-Morris, the 8th edition. We're up to Chapter 14. Now, remember that the first half of this course is all about HTML and CSS, and the second half is about JavaScript. So this is meant to be an introduction or a primer to JavaScript because we're going to go through another book on JavaScript later with a lot more depth and breadth of coverage than what you get in this chapter. So if everything doesn't totally make sense, don't let that throw you, please, one way or the other. So we've got about 10 objectives or so. Describe common uses of JavaScript in web pages. Describe the purpose of the DOM or document object model, including some of its common events. Create a simple JavaScript routine that uses the alert method. Use JavaScript variables, operators, and the if control structure. Create a basic form validation script using JavaScript. And then you notice the last 4 or 5 are on jQuery, and jQuery is a JavaScript library. So we want to describe some common uses of jQuery, describe how to obtain jQuery, use jQuery selectors and methods, configure a simple image gallery with jQuery, and describe the purpose of jQuery plugins. So, I think I mentioned this in an earlier chapter, but I'm going to say it again. JavaScript is object-based, which means that it has object-oriented capabilities. You can use things like classes and methods and attributes, but you don't have to. It's a scripting language, which means most of the JavaScript that gets written today is executed on the browser. Okay? All right. JavaScript works with objects associated with a web page document, such as the document the window, the document itself, the elements, things like forms, hyperlinks, etc. Now, JavaScript is somewhere in the area of around 20 to 25 years old. It was originally developed by Netscape back in the days when Netscape and IE were the two big browsers that fought it out. It was originally named LiveScript, but right around the time that it was going to be introduced, that's when Java came out. And somehow the people from Netscape got it in their heads that, wow, there's Java, why don't we call this JavaScript instead of calling it LiveScript? And they did. But as mentioned on the bottom of the slide, JavaScript is not Java. Some things that you can do with JavaScript, and by the end of the class, when we go over the other book on JavaScript, you should be able to do most, if not all of these. Display a message box, select list navigation, edit and validate form information, create a new window with a specified size and a specified screen position, perform image rollovers, create status messages, display the current date, and do calculations. You can create JavaScript in 2 different ways, and what I mean by that is this. If we go back to what we've been doing here, and I've been doing something else there, so let's see, in there. All right, so the last thing we did, I believe, was this iframe. Last time I wrote some code. But what I want to show you is if I want to actually put JavaScript on a page, just my body, I can put script tags in there. Script. And I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put a function here, very simple. I'll put in a function hello. And we'll put in an alert message that says, hello world. All right, we'll end our script. Okay, now in our body tag, way the hay up here. Tell you what, let's also put in here, let's put in a button. We know how to do that now. Okay, so we're going to come in here and we'll come up to the top here and we'll say button value equal run program. On click equal hello. Button. All right, let's see if that works. There's our button, which you can't really see. And when we click it, of course, nothing's happening. Well, I'm not sure why that looks like that, and I'm not sure why nothing's happening when we're clicking it. So, button. Why that would be a problem. Button value equal on click equal. When in doubt, go back to HTML button tag, button type equal, oh, I didn't say type equal button, did I? That would be why. Type equal button. All right, now let's see if it looks a little better. Well, no, it doesn't. Okay, we're in the body, which is good. Trying to see if there's something in here that I forgot to comment out, and that's why I'm getting some weird stuff in here, but I don't see anything. It's all green, which is good. Button, type equal button, value equal run, on click equal hello. That all looks okay. Button, script, function hello, alert hello world. Like I said, I'm trying to see in here, I'm trying to look for something that looks wrong, for lack of better words. Well, there it is. There's hello world, so that one is working. All right, I don't know why I've got two buttons here, but I do. Ah, slash button. All right, so that works. Now it says hello world. I don't know why that's not showing, but it's not. Button type equal button. Huh. See, it's supposed to look like this. You know, click me. On click equals, you know, I just wrote it as a separate function. But let's try to use what they have there and see if somehow I've got something written wrong in mine, even though I don't think I do. I'm just going to comment out all of this. And we'll run it again. There's the button. Hello world. Good. So what magic happened when we did that? Well, again, I'm trying to see what looks different from what I did. On click equal. We told it to run a JavaScript alert statement that said hello world. Oh, that's why we didn't get anything here, because that should have said here, run program, I guess right there. So let me comment back out what I just stole from online, put mine back in here. So now that's my code in there. Let's see if that works. Okay, there's run program. I'll get rid of that in a minute. Hello world. Good. Okay, so what magic stuff did I do here? Well, I got that dash dash with a greater than. That's what's giving me that. But now I'm saying I've got a button. When you click the button called hello, and hello is a JavaScript function which prints an alert on screen, which is like a message box that says hello world. I could put anything I wanted in here. How's the weather? And if I run this again, how's the weather? All right. So in that case, what we did was we took the JavaScript code and we placed it between script tags. If we don't want to do that, just like we could have an external CSS file, I can grab this code that's right here, and I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to take all of this code that's in here, into my function, and I'm going to put it into a new file. Right there. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment out all of this, every bit of it. And what I'm going to do is way up on top where I put in my CSS, and it doesn't matter, I could put it above it or below it, but I'll put it below it. I'm going to say script source equals JS, because I'm going to put it in a directory called JS, hello.js. Okay, so now I'm referencing an external file. And that's this file right here, file, save as. I'm at my website. Let's put in a new folder here that's called JS, like you just saw. And in that file, we're going to call this hello.js. All right. Now let's run our program again. It has been saved. So you saw I now have this script tag in there, right there. And also at the bottom of my screen, I took what I did have in there and I commented all of it out. Now what we're saying is when you click the button, call that external, that hello function, but it's in an external file. It should look exactly the same as it just looked. And it does. Now, I may not have done very much as far as convincing you about the virtues of JavaScript, but I did show you the two ways that you can code JavaScript. Inline in between script tags and in an external file. Okay. So, that was with the script element. You already saw that. So let's jump into something a little different. Let's talk about the document object model, also known as the DOM. If you remember, one thing that we have been doing almost since the beginning in here is when we've been creating things, we put IDs on a lot of different things. For instance, here we put an ID on all of our form elements. We've got a div here that could have had an ID or a class in it, okay? But we put IDs, one of the reasons we put IDs on so many different things is now we're going to be able to, anything that has an ID that is unique, we can now use a special JavaScript method that's called getElementById, which you'll see in a couple minutes, and we can manipulate anything that's on a web page. This ability of manipulating anything that's on a web page, it means that you're able to manipulate anything in the web page document or any object that's on the web page document. And that's what the DOM or document object model is. This thing that you see right here is a document object model. As it says, it defines every object and element on a web page. It's hierarchical in structure, which means that the window has a document, a history, a location, and a navigator. The navigator, which is basically the browser, has an app name and a version. Nothing special about the location, nothing special about the history. The document has an anchor on it, a form on it, an image on it, and a link on it. The form has an element, the image has a source. So it's a way for you to access page elements and apply styles to basically everything that's on a page. By and large, everything that's on a page that has an ID associated with it. So, document, object, model. What's an object? An object is a thing, or it can be an entity, or it can actually be a concept. So your browser window is an object. Your submit button is an object. The web page document itself is an object. Anything that you put on a web page is an object. Objects consist of properties. Properties are also known as characteristics or attributes. So if you think about the properties, for example, that a human being has, we all have a height, we all have a weight, we all have an eye color. Those people who have hair have a hair color. We all have a gender, etc. All right, so here's some examples of different properties on a web page. Now you'll notice some of them will look a little bit different. For instance, when we've worked with background color, I said you can either say background or background hyphen color. But here, when you're using it on the DOM, it's BG color. Okay, there's a couple of other ones here also. It's the name of the object dot and the name of the property. Object dot property, object dot property. All right, so those are properties. Methods are behaviors. So we all eat, we all sleep, we all drink, etc. But methods on a web page are different things you want to do. If you want to write something to a web page document, if you want to submit a form, there are lots of other things. Now, this language that we're going to be working with is also referred to as an event-driven language. And you can look at an event-driven language as basically the program is sitting there waiting for you to do something. When you do something, whatever it is, if you've associated some code with something you've just did, the program will react. For example, let's say as you just saw in my example, I had a button on the screen that was said run. The program didn't do anything until I clicked the run button. Once I clicked the run button, there was code associated with the on-click event for the button, so that code executed. Here are some other things there's on-click, on mouse over, on mouse out, on load, on unload, and there are all sorts of different on methods. Here are some of them. So again, you click anything that's clickable, an on-click method. When you load something into the browser, the on-load fires. When you take your mouse and you put it over something, the on-mouse over fires. When you've got your mouse in someplace and you move it out, the on-mouse out fires. If you've got a submit button on a form, the on-submit fires. When you unload a form from memory, the on-unload goes. So again, when it says JavaScript can be configured, what they're saying is it's possible for you to write code that runs when certain things happen. So here, on mouse over, alert, go home. Let's see. Okay, let's try that one. We'll take a look at what all of it says. All right, so give me just a second here. Okay, we're going to come down to here. We don't need to even write any JavaScript or anything special here, but we'll put a couple blank lines in. All right, and this is saying I want a hyperlink. When I click it, I want to go to home.html, which doesn't matter, okay? And I'm going to see instead here, http:// www.google.com. And when I mouse over that, what I want to have happen is I want an alert that says click here to go to Google. And we'll change this to Google. All right. You might think you know what's going to happen here, and you might not. But now notice what happens when I take my mouse and put it over this. See, I get that thing that comes up on the screen in the middle. It says click here to go to Google. All right. Okay. And I can also, I can set it up. I've got on mouse over, do this. Okay. And if I need to, want to, whatever, I can have another thing that's in here that says basically on mouse out, and I can do something else. All right. Now the bad thing about doing this is since I have this on mouse over, and since that alert comes up, once I close the alert, if I mouse over it again, the alert comes back up again. But this is just meant to, to show you things that can be done, not necessarily things that you should be doing. All right. When you write JavaScript, sooner or later you're going to need to debug things. When you debug, pay close attention. JavaScript is a case-sensitive language. And you'll see that more when we get into it in more depth and breadth of coverage. All right. Verify that you spell things correctly. Verify that you've saved the page. Verify that you're testing the most recent version. Grab the error message that the browser gives you and either look at it in the console, which we'll talk about later on in the class, or Google it. I'm not going to worry about this debugging right now. You can debug with Firefox. You can debug with just about any browser. In fact, right now, if I were to hit my F12 function key in Google Chrome, no, I thought I did. I guess I have to have a document up and running. So if I hit F12 right now, look what happens. All right. I bring this up, and one of the things that's over here is the console. And if I click that, all right, can I say document.write here? Hello. All right, and it put hello on the screen here. It's a little hard to see, but it did put it there. If you don't believe me, how about this? Alert. Hello. And there's my alert. So I can go and debug code from right inside of here. I hit F12 to open it up. I hit F12 again to close it. Okay. Variable. A variable is a location in memory that can hold a value. And the value of the variable can vary. That's why you give it a name. You should get used to, when you do something like this, var username equal Karen, document.write username. First of all, they're making it much harder than it has to be, but that's okay. So if we come back to our hello.js file, and we put in this, notice that var and function are keywords, that's why they're blue. Var username equal Karen, document.write username. Well, let's see what happens now when we come back here to our program and we run it. Okay, and you say nothing. Well, it says click here to go to Google, etc. I want to get that stuff out of there that I put in there, so let me get that out. There. And button on click, we're going to run hello to run the program, so let's see what happens when we do that now. See how it said Karen? It wrote it right on the screen. If that's a document.write, it'll write right to the web page itself. If we don't want to write to the web page, we don't have to. We could have just said alert right here. And again, if I come back, refresh my page, run the program, there's my alert with Karen. Now you may have already noticed something, and that is I've got two lines here that if I wanted to, I could have combined them into one. So in other words, instead of saying var username, semicolon, username equal Karen, I could have just said var username equal Karen, like that. And you'll notice when I do that, and I run the program again, so let me refresh, and there it is. This is not real gee whiz type of stuff. All right, again, the idea here is to start to get you to where you have a little bit of a comfort level with using JavaScript. And that's basically it. All right, we saw how to display information, but how do you get information? Okay, well, you can use a prompt. Again, I'm going to go back to this, and I'm going to put in this var username equal prompt. What is your name? Okay, and that's going to come out on the screen. There'll be a little box that says what is your name, and it'll let you enter it. And then alert hello plus the username. So let's try to run the program again. Again, we will refresh the page. There's the prompt statement. What is your name? Jeffrey Paul Scott. Hello, Jeffrey Paul Scott. So I showed you the prompt, and I showed you an alert inside of the same routine. Again, not that that's all that, oh wow, that's unbelievable stuff, but I'm just getting you used to using some of the stuff that's in here. You can do math. All right, you can assign things with the equal sign. You can do addition, you can do subtraction, you can do multiplication, you can do division. There's even more that you can do, but that's it, good for now. There are comparison operators. So I can compare two values to see if they're equal. And notice that if I do that, I use two equal signs, not one. I can see if one is greater than the other, if one is greater than or equal to the other, if one is less than the other, if one is less than or equal to the other, or if one is not equal to the other. We can do decision making. So in other words, I can do this. We're going to write something pretty simple in here. We're going to say here, var age equal parse int. Looks a little weird, but just bear with me for a second, and please, if you would. How old are you? And we'll give it a default value, okay? We'll say by default, we'll say that the person is 18 years old. All right? So now we're going to say if age is greater than or equal to 18, we'll do an alert that says you are an adult. But if you're not greater than or equal to 18, else or otherwise, we'll do an alert that says you are a child. All right, so I've saved that. Let's go back to the program again. We'll refresh. All right, how old are you? I'll leave it at 18. You are an adult. Let's run it again. 15. You are a child. I guess I forgot the but you get the idea. You are a child. Okay, that's an if statement. What goes in the parentheses here, and you must use parentheses, that's known as a Boolean condition. B-O-O-L-E-A-N. Boolean condition. So it's got to be true or false. If it's true, you do what comes after the if. If it's false, you do what comes after the else. Hopefully, as we go on, you'll find this to be fairly straightforward. I already showed you a function. We wrote our own function. There's nothing new there. Okay? And I showed you how to call the function too. Nothing new there. All right. It is common to use JavaScript to validate form information before submitting the form to the web server. And what kinds of things? Well, if you have any fields that are required, if you have something that you want to check, maybe if they put in a salary, if the salary must be between 10,000 and 100,000 or something. So this is a little bit complex, probably, a little bit different for you to look at. I'm not going to go over it right now, but we will go over it in class. We'll go over the whole thing. Okay? All right. One thing about JavaScript is, just so you know, is it's totally legal for users to turn it off. All right, so as it says, don't expect JavaScript to always function for every visitor. Some of them may have JavaScript disabled. Some may not even be able to click a mouse. So for accessibility reasons, you want to make sure that you provide text links and email contact info. All right, that's the first half. Let's see where we are for time. We're at 31 minutes, so I'm going to stop right here and then come back and talk about jQuery.